Hello everyone and welcome to the first of a Atten Path trilogy. We've never covered every movie in a series before, and we're doing it this time. Well, this is part one.
Yeah, I don't even know if we did a movie from a series or if we always did standalone movies.
Yeah, we haven't actually covered multiple movies at once, because we only did, with Spider-Man we've only done No Way Home.
Oh yeah.
And Shin Godzilla. I mean, I consider Shin Godzilla standalone personally.
Okay, Mothra, Shin Godzilla, maybe because they are kind of part of a franchise, at least.
Oh, yeah. I suppose. Anyway. We're getting distracted.
Yeah.
Welcome to an episode of Atten Path, the first of a trilogy about the Lord of the Rings, beginning with Fellowship of the Ring.
Mm-hmm.
I am, of course, Claire, and I am joined by my co-host,
Leon.
And before we really get into the movie, we gotta talk a little bit about Lord of the Rings. I feel as a whole, because it's a special occasion to be reviewing an entire trilogy.
Yeah,
but then there's also kind of the argument of, is it a trilogy, or is it just three parts of the same movie? Because the Lord of the Rings is technically just one big book.
Yeah, I think it was the editors who decided to make it 3 parts, right?
From what I understand, it's all written as one big story. And the editors, I think they told him you need to split it up into bits. And his intention was to split it into 6, but then they decided to split it into 3. Which is why people say there are 6 Lord of the Rings books.
Yeah.
It's evenly divided. So, the Fellowship of the Ring is 2 books. Two Towers is 2 books. Return of the King is 2 books and appendices. And I'm sure I'll mention this again with Return of the King. I'm pretty sure Tolkien personally wasn't a fan of that as a title. But anyway, Lord of the Rings is it's one of the most popular fantasy series of all time. I'd argue it is the most popular fantasy trilogy of all time.
I think it's the first. I think it's the franchise that started fantasy movies in cinema. Because were there any other big fantasy films before that weren't made for children?
You see, I don't think so. Yeah, I think I agree. I think Lord of the Rings definitely popularized medieval fantasy as a big genre. Because there were a couple, I think, like Highlander and stuff. But this was the first to make it hey, this isn't a geeky nerdy thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, the beginning of the 2000s were a great time to be a nerd. Because that's when superhero movies really started. Fantasy movies, you're being treated, You got Lord of the Rings, you have Harry Potter. You had...
Now you don't even get bullied if you like comic books. I remember the times where it was embarrassing to like manga.
Oh my gosh. And you had a new Star Wars trilogy. God, remember when the prequel trilogy was the worst Star Wars trilogy? Anywho.
So you agree that the sequels are worse than the prequels?
But from my current opinion, because my opinion on this changes every fucking month. My current opinion on it is, as a cohesive trilogy, I think the prequels are better.
Yeah, of course.
Because the sequels feel like 3 loosely tied together movies. At least the prequels are totally consistent.
And the prequels were the last time Star Wars movies actually tried to show us new locations and stuff. And new parts. Because I think
that's something I was thinking about.
Nowadays it's most like rehashing old places we already know.
Yeah, I saw the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer, and I was like, oh wow, this is a third Disney Plus series in a row set on Tatooine. Tatooine! It's a desert rock. Which it is, however, it's quite a boring location, Tatooine is. But then you got Middle-earth, and which it's such an iconic, I feel like Middle-earth is always the blueprint for fantasy world. It's a blueprint for any D&D player's fantasy world. You've got the Elven kingdoms, you've got the Dwarven kingdoms. Humans, something I find very interesting about the world building of Middle-earth is that wizards are kind of their own thing.
You know how many wizards there are?
I don't.
I don't want to say a false thing, but I think there are only 7 wizards.
Oh!
One.
Are they all played by great actors?
One is. Wait, I have to look it up.
Well,
maybe you tell me about what's your history with Lord of the Rings.
Right. I had never got round to watching or even reading Lord of the Rings. I had, however, because school forced us to, read The Hobbit around the time the movie came out. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It is my favourite book. It is a fantastic little story. I got this wonderful little hardback edition of it. I love The Hobbit. And I watched the movie and was immensely disappointed. I almost feel like maybe...
The Hobbit. You were disappointed by the Hobbit movies, right?
Yeah, I was disappointed by the Hobbit movies. I'll just say this right now, because we're kind of talking about Lord of the Rings of the franchise before we get into Fellowship. I'll just say this right now, I really like this movie.
I'm glad.
I really, really enjoyed it. Didn't enjoy The Hobbit that much, but that's more just due to the fact that The Hobbit was my first example of, wow, the book was better, you know? And I think because it's one of the rare cases where I read the book first. And also because it tries to turn an adventure book into an action-adventure movie, and The Hobbit is really not an action-adventure book.
No, it's more like a fairy tale.
Yeah. The eternal point I will make against the Hobbit movies is they decided to make it a 3-part series and dub the third one The Battle of Five Armies, which in the book is 1 chapter that isn't even really that much about the battle. It's more about, Bilbo being, oh god, war is horrible.
It's not about the battle at all. I think he gets knocked out in the beginning of the chapter, and then he
does,
sleeps
doesn't
through
he?
it. Yeah.
And then it's his conversation with what's his face for him. The head dwarf. No, yeah, who's fucking keeling over. It drives me mad. But regardless, that's not to say if you like the Hobbit movies, how dare you? I actually said this a bit before. I don't even hate them. They're perfectly fine movies. They're just not as good as they could have been. I actually came up with the idea that it would have been cool if The Hobbit was instead just maybe 1 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
And it could have been cutting. They could have had it be narrated by an old Bilbo. And maybe that's why, there would have been some dramatic liberties. And I like the idea that at the end it would be revealed that Bilbo was telling the story to Frodo.
Well, in the first movie it is. I don't know how the last one ends, but I know that the first one starts with Bilbo who's writing his story. Oh yeah,
he's writing the book. He's writing There and Back Again.
Yeah.
Which, a missed opportunity to make that the subtitle of one of the movies.
What subtitle?
There and Back Again.
Oh, There and Back. Wait, I think it was planned to be
Oh no!
because
That's even worse that they planned on it, decided against it.
yeah, I remember that first they only wanted to do 2 movies.
I think 2 would have worked.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, but maybe they could have called the first one there and the second one back again.
I like that. I actually quite like that as a thing. And then release a stupid extended edition that's like 6 hours long.
Yeah.
It's both of them.
So to the wizards, I don't
yes.
really know. So I find sources that it's between 5 or 7 members, but there's a white wizard, a grey wizard, a brown wizard, and 2 blue wizards.
Okay. Yes.
And you know who's who?
I know. Hang on. There's Gandalf's the grey.
Yeah.
Is Saruman the white?
Yeah.
And
there's only one other who is in the movies.
I know of the brown wizard, but I can't. His name escapes me.
Radagast. At least
Radagast.
in German, it's Radagast.
Yeah, I think that was his name.
Okay.
So
So no, back to the movie.
let's actually get into the movie. Before we get into spoiler section, what is your thought on the movie?
I love those movies. I think the 3 of them are part of my of my favorite movies of all time, and I watch them probably every year since I first watched them. I think I watched them when I was 12 with my parents, and it's always around Christmas we watch them.
I get that. It's kind of like, I mean, for me, a trilogy I try to watch every year is the original Star Wars trilogy. And I can see that. It has that same magical vibe to it.
Yeah, I don't think that there are many trilogies that could be described as perfect trilogies. You know?
Yeah.
Like I actually saw a YouTube video about why Lord of the Rings is the best trilogy, because it was it's planned as a trilogy from the beginning.
Yeah. I completely get you. The best trilogies are ones that are written as one story that are then split up.
Yeah.
It's why I'm eternally baffled with how they managed to bollock up the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
I don't know if the original Star Wars was planned as a trilogy or what.
He was
Lucas...
planning it to be a trilogy, and the Death Star was meant to be the final act.
Oh, okay.
There's actually a lot of really... We'll have to talk about this if we do another Star Wars thing. There's a lot of interesting plans in what the original 9 Star Wars movies were going to be.
Yeah.
Like, the Emperor was barely meant to be involved in the original trilogy. He was going to be the sequel trilogy villain.
Okay. So, wait, George Lucas planned 9 movies?
Yeah, he always planned 9.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay. So.
Okay. Let's get into it.
So. How do we... So we both watched... I've watched the extended edition, and you've watched the extended edition, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I ever watched the theatrical cut.
So, it begins with this really great scene of just, like, it's kind of establishing the whole, like, thing with the rings and stuff.
Yeah, it starts in, what is it called, the 2nd century in English?
Yeah, I think it's like Second Era or something.
Second Era, okay.
Or Second Age, but, like, yeah, it kind of...
I think it's Age.
Yeah, I think it is Age. It sets up the whole thing with, like, you know... Hang on, can I get this? It was...
Yeah.
9 rings were given to the dwarves. 7 were given to man. 3 were given to the elves. And Sauron created the One Ring.
Yeah.
And it kind of establishes that. And does it start off with the battle between the elves and humans? Well, it's everyone versus Sauron.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of starts off this flashback which shows the Dark Lord Sauron, who controls the One Ring, which is just... It's kind of the MacGuffin. It's a super powerful ring, but it's also incredibly corruptible.
Yeah.
And the only one who could truly master it is the Lord of the Rings.
It's kind of interesting that it was called the Lord of the Rings, like it's called after the villain of the whole...
Yeah! That is a fantastic point. It's like whenever I saw Lord of the Rings, I was like, oh, it's a fantastic thing. It's only when I sat down to watch it recently, I was like, oh wait, it's named after Sauron.
Yeah. And he's the only one who can control it.
And basically, in the final moments of the original war for the ring, Isildur, King of the Humans, sliced off Sauron's fingers, which in turn sliced off his ring and killed him.
It didn't really...
Well, it kills his mortal by his body.
Yeah, his physical form is destroyed.
Sauron is kind of alive in the ring. And the big spooky eye.
Don't forget the big spooky eye.
I just love that he is so unsubtle of a villain. He has like this little ring. It's like, oh, that's so subtle and so clever. And he also has the eye. It's like, all right. So yeah, and they kind of tell how the ring. Isildur had a chance to destroy the ring, but it had already corrupted his mind, so he didn't.
Yeah.
And he took it, but ultimately he was betrayed by the ring. But in that scuffle, the ring was lost. It ended up in the position of Gollum. Gollum lost the ring to Bilbo. And present day, where it is Bilbo's birthday.
And how old is he getting?
Oh, it's like 100 and something, isn't it?
111.
111.
Yeah.
And everyone's making a big celebration of this. Well, he is just trying to write his novel about the Hobbit. And like he does this really good narration where he kind of sets up what hobbits are. It's quite nice. And it is here where we meet basically like two of the best characters in the movie, Gandalf and Frodo.
Yeah.
Through an absolutely just an iconic exchange between the two of them.
I think it's such a great introduction from Gandalf.
Oh yeah, because Frodo begins by like almost confronting him, and it's the fact that they both seem very stern until finally they break into that smile, and you instantly get so much about their character.
A wizard is never late. Is it? Does he say it in English? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he says a wizard is never late, not early.
Yeah.
He arrives precisely when he intends to.
Exactly, and I don't know. It just has such a magical aura.
Yeah, and like as this thing goes on, when they meet the Hobbit children, and he uses fireworks to make them happy. It's almost like you within like one scene, you instantly pick up on who Gandalf is, which is that he is this wise beyond age wizard. But he's also a fun guy. He likes to joke around. And they arrive, and it's quite Bilbo's nice. He's been corrupted by the ring.
Yeah.
And the ring's corruption is absolutely just kind of the main theme. because no one can use it because it's evil.
Yeah.
And he is planning on leaving. Leaving everything to Frodo and just going away from the Shire.
Which isn't normal for a hobbit, because normally hobbits are those chilled guys who stay at home, like having like 7 meals a day.
Yeah.
And just living in the Shire.
I like to see the hobbits as like the hobbits almost represent like this idealized version of a European countryside, you know? Because in a way, we all want
Let's
to
be
like
honest,
the hobbits.
they are just British guys.
They're just the British. But like, I feel like it's a very idealized version of the European countryside where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like everyone has a little garden that they farm in. Everyone lives in this lovely little wooden house, and we all have like 10 meals a day.
Yeah.
So we meet, and like, you just get so much of the idea of the culture of the Shire from here, like the big families.
Yeah, the whole movie starts off so innocent.
It does. It's almost like it almost tricks you. And you get this this is really great exchange between Gandalf and Frodo, where Frodo thinks there's something like, you know, before you arrived, we Bagginses were well thought of.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have any adventures, and then Gandalf's just there like, I didn't influence your Uncle Bilbo. I merely gave him a slight nudge out the door. I had like some amazing post that's like, Gandalf, that's bullshit. You showed up with a dwarven rave. And it's accurate.
As you guys can see, we're taking a lot of time to sum up this movie because we just like every little
it's
aspect
a good
of it.
movie.
Like I don't think we made it past the first 20 minutes.
We haven't even got. Admittedly, there are going to be bits we can, we can actually skip over.
Yeah, we have to skip if we don't want to make a 3-hour-long podcast.
Yeah, the extended edition podcast. It's not my fault the film's 3.5 hours long, with fan club credits.
But it's a good time.
It is a good time. That is actually a key thing. If you're not someone who can adore long movies, maybe watch the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
Anywho, so there's a party, and it is pretty fun seeing. There's some good fireworks CGI. Dragon, which I'm choosing to headcanon that a dragon is meant to represent smell.
Yeah. Gandalf releasing some PTSD on the world.
Yeah, Bilbo's just like, oh god, not that again. And Bilbo uses the ring to make a disappearing trick. And it's here where we kind of get into like what I was mentioning with the fact that Gandalf is wise, where like, yeah, Gandalf is like kind of like aware of Bilbo's plan, but like there's this much darker tone when. Yet the film becomes a lot darker from the moment Bilbo uses the ring, because it's instantly kind of this thing of like, yeah, you just use some dark magic there, and we do not. We don't toy with that.
Yeah.
Bilbo leaves, and Frodo inherits the house and the ring. And as Gandalf quickly leaves and then returns, because upon throwing the ring into the fire, they discover that it is actually the ring.
Yeah.
Sauron's ring, which Gandalf wasn't aware of being that at first.
Yeah.
And this kind of begins like the quest where Frodo and his pal Samwise Gamgee, who happened to be gardening in the front lawn at the time, and overheard everything, are sent to a nearby town to meet up with Gandalf.
Again, yeah.
Can we appreciate Samwise Gamgee?
We can appreciate him. I think he's my... Is he? Yeah, he's my favorite character.
He is so amazing. He's just like this little guy who's gotten himself into a world of trouble, but takes it so dedicated. And basically decides that, like, because Gandalf told him you need to protect Bilbo, he's gonna go to hell and back to do that.
Yeah. I think you will love the other two movies.
Ah, nice. I think I love him. I love him so much. And like, I think this is something I picked up a lot. It's like this film does a really good job of showing that, like, you know, Gandalf is like in the early bits of the movie, he's having to leave like this early fellowship to get, you know, knowledge. As you introduce the other characters, there's infighting, there's bickering, and yet when it comes down to it, the ones who seem to almost take the most stride, almost take on the mission as it should be, is the hobbits. The unassuming little guys. And I think it's like, there's almost this the recurring theme with Lord, like, especially in the first movie, of... It's like... At least that's how I'm interpreting it. It's like, yeah, the elves are, you know, beautiful and strong, and, you know, like, the dwarves are almighty and the wizards are all, you know, grand. But they're kind of all up their own arses too much to be able to handle the ring.
It's the people who don't desire power.
Yeah, are the ones who who could ultimately be the ones to handle the issue.
Or who are not corrupted as fast as the others.
Yeah, and like, this is jumping ahead a bit, but Boromir doesn't even get to fucking touch the ring, and he's already like, give me it, give me it.
Yeah, humans are especially, what is it called? Especially...
corrupted by it. Susceptible?
Yeah. As seen by the Nazgul.
Oh, yeah.
Is it explained who the Nazguls are in the first one?
Yes, they were the humans who got the rings.
Exactly.
And were corrupted, which is a really fucking awesome plot detail. When they reveal that it is the One Ring, is the first time we actually get the iconic, you know, line of one ring to rule them all, one ring to bind them. No, hang on, sorry, shit, have I fucked it up?
I don't know.
I can't.
It's a long...
What?
It's a long line.
It's a long line, but I don't know which... I forget the order.
I'm sorry, I don't know it in English.
What is it in German? Well, I Google it.
Nee, Moment. Sorry.
Are we both in this issue?
It's what? Einringen sie zu knechten. Wait. Okay. It's einringen sie zu knechten, sie alle zu finden, ins Dunkle zu treiben und ewig zu binden.
I realised where I stumbled. I mixed up two words. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'd be good. Anyway, so we continue.
Gandalf doesn't show up.
Yeah, they reach town. They pick up two more hobbits on the way.
Pippin and Merry.
Yes, who prove to be nothing but nuisances throughout the entire plot.
Oh, but enjoy them in the next movies.
I'm sure they do get better in the next movies, but in the first one, they are just
I still like them.
They reach it and he's not there. And after a quick, scuffle and an issue, because the Nazgul are after them, and one of them opens their fucking mouth and is like, "Oh, there's Bilbo Baggins, no, Frodo Baggins." They are rescued by Aragorn, the Strider.
Yeah,
and they basically fall into a thing of, look, we're told not to trust anyone, but like, we kind of have no choice.
And then they make their way to Rivendell.
Yes. And they take it, like, they have a lot of issue going there. They kind of bollock it up many times with fire, like cooking food, and
the Midnight Snack.
The Midnight Snack. We get a lot of great jokes about like eating. I'm talking about iconic meme lines from this movie.
Yeah, that's another part of Lord of the Rings that I like. That it takes its time to be comedic, but it's not. It doesn't take you out of the experience.
Yeah, it's a 3-hour movie, and it knows like it's allowed to have softer moments, quieter moments.
Yeah.
Something I do quite like. Do you know of the famous fan edit of the Fellowship of the Ring, which involves Sam's line of, if I take one more step, this will be the furthest I've.
You mean the one where he says it every time he takes a step?
Yeah, and it's 9 hours long.
Yeah.
Which is I'm guessing the worst way to watch the movie. So they carry on. They get attacked by the Nazgul, and Frodo is stabbed. And they don't just have swords. Yeah, they have magic swords. Which, like, if you're stabbed by you super die, you just kind of become one of them. It's shit. And Frodo was rescued by an elf. They dash to Rivendell.
In German it's not elf, it's elb.
Elb.
So with a B.
Elf.
And we have the word elf too, but I always thought it was cool that they are not elves in German, but elves, which is kind of another species.
Oh yeah, it gives them a new like mystical thing to them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. They get there and it's this happy reunion, and shall we go over the clash of actors between Ian McKellen and Christopher Lee now?
Yeah.
Because Gandalf shows up, and basically in the entire time that's happened, so Gandalf goes to do his friend Saruman, who is played by, the legend that is Christopher Lee.
Who knew Tolkien in person, I think.
Yes, he did. We have Mr. Count Dooku and Dracula himself. And
I think Peter Jackson said that the only one who was a bigger fan of Lord of the Rings than him on set was Christopher Lee.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I can't remember whether it was this movie or Star Wars, but the director of one movie told Christopher Lee to when trying to direct him on a noise he had to make was like, try and imagine the sound a man makes whilst being stabbed. And he told him, I don't have to imagine.
I know it.
I was like, oh my god! But yeah, absolutely legendary actor.
Yeah.
If we ever do the prequel trilogy, I'm just going to talk about how much I love Count Dooku. And basically, Saruman has kind of indirectly been corrupted by the ring, but less in a way of he wants, he's touched the ring and it's evil, but more of the fact that he's always got this cocky belief that he can tame it.
He's like, we have to decide. We have to be on the winning side, and he thinks that it's impossible to win against Sauron.
Yeah, so he wants to almost take his chances, join with Sauron, who was really just manipulating him to get a giant orc army. That's something I find interesting, that orcs are unnatural in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And because it's almost like it's very heavily applied. He wants to become the new Lord of the Rings, but of course the ring only has one master.
But Saruman isn't making an orc army. He's making something stronger.
Oh,
The
Is it not-
Urukai. You
anyway,
know
that whole thing is cool. That's them coming out of the earth and
Yeah, exactly. That are Urukai.
Yeah.
You know how they are made?
no.
I think they are part human, part orc.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you get this wizard fight, and I love the fact that like they could have gone flashy spell CGI, but with very limited, without even going too crazy, just doing some really good, some really cool, body movement stuff. You get an idea of just how powerful these two are.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if this movie was made today, the wizard duel would have been overly complicated.
Oh, I like it this way.
Yeah, I liked the fact that, like, without showing much, that Saruman is ungodfully powerful.
Yeah.
And Gandalf is rescued at the last moment by an eagle. Because of course he is! He has like a really sweet scene with a moth, which I'm pretty sure died. Like that same moth actually did die the same day they filmed that scene. So rip the moth.
Rip Mothkun.
MVP of the film.
Yeah.
And but he's made it to Rivendell, and they've assembled like kind of some of the best of each race.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, we need to destroy the ring, and I fucking love Gimli the dwarf's ring. I love Gimli, I just want to point out. I think he's a great character.
Mm.
And he's basically like, alright, we're destroying the ring, and he just shoves his hammer on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're a practical man, but I don't think it works that way, which it doesn't. Destroys it.
That's the only scene where Legolas and Gimli talk to Frodo directly.
Really?
Yeah.
In the entire trilogy?
Yeah.
Huh. 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 That is weird.
Yeah.
They get... Yeah, so basically they assemble... Basically, they're all arguing about what should be done with the ring, because Boromir, who is he's the heir to Gondor, the human kingdom, wants it to kind of revitalize Gondor, and they're all arguing. And Gimli and Legolas are racist to each other.
Yeah.
And Hugo Weaving Elf is just there like, oh my god, guys, shut up. And Aragorn is having a mental crisis because they found the Isildur's sword is in Rivendell, which of course has the revelation that Aragorn is actually of the same blood of Isildur.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why he's out of all of them in the movies, where it's one of like, I don't want anything to do with that bloody ring.
I know what it can do to humans.
Yeah. He has this shame about it, and ultimately, and this going back to the point I made about the hobbits earlier, it is Frodo who stands up and says, I will take it.
Yeah.
This ultimately, and by the sheer fact of all, like, alright, we've been stood up by a hobbit, instead of just doing the thing of, you're not strong enough, you're a hobbit, they do the whole, you have my sword, you have my bow, and my axe.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that scene. And it forms the Fellowship of the Ring, and there are 9 of them.
And off they go.
And off they go.
Then...
I'm not mistaken, because I mentioned that I'm going to get this up, actually. Because I mentioned that the Lord of the Rings is actually 6 books.
Yeah, I think that would be a good time to cut it.
Yeah, that was actually. I mean, that's where the because I've got the original DVD release of the extended editions that have to be on 2 DVDs, and that's where it was cut. Literally, as Hugo Weaving Elf says, "You will be known as the Fellowship of the Ring." And before I could do the joke of how he said the line, he was like, "Please put in disc 2." I'm like, all right, this broke the pacing. So Lord of the Rings is. Hang on. Yeah, so apparently the first two book titles were Return of the Shadow and The Fellowship of the Ring. So it's the second half that's actually The Fellowship of the Ring. Anywho, the Fellowship head off and they're getting to Mordor, to Mount Doom, to yeet the ring into it.
Yeah.
And we've already been past you do not simply walk into Mordor. Yeah. Which I'd like to point out in the Lego version of these movies, when you set foot into Mordor, you get an achievement called One Does simply for set foot into Mordor. So,
try to get over a mountain, but Saruman says no.
Yeah, Saruman just controls the weather.
So they have to go through Moria.
You know, they actually reckon, that wasn't even planned. Christopher Lee just got on top of the tower and just started summoning a storm. They just didn't question it, like, all right, Christopher, whatever you feel like it. Yeah, like, they have to decide whether they, like, risk with the mountains or go through Moria. And, they certainly go through Moria. And honestly, the mind of Moria is much more depressing if you know The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Because it's meant to be this grand dwarven city, and it's completely in ruins, and everyone's dead.
Yeah.
I think you realise that these are some of the characters you got attached to in The Hobbit.
Yeah.
So that's fun. It's quite bleak. It's a really atmospheric area. And there's a really good bit where they read a journal, which basically discovers what happened. Like, they were attacked by goblins, right?
It's like a cool little horror story inside of the movie.
Yeah. It's a really good scene. It's a really nice tonal shift.
And then those drums.
And then, is it Pippin or Merry that fucks up?
I think it's Merry.
He knocks a dwarven skeleton down a well, which alerts the goblins. So he's indirectly responsible for the death of Gandalf.
That's hard. If you put it like this.
The goblins come and they have to make this like emergency exit. Poor Gimli. I really feel for Gimli in this scene. He's basically just found out that like his, this lovely place and his people, he's just dead. It's just gone. And like, I like that they don't shy away from the fact that like he is upset about. That's something this movie does well. The characters actually mourn and grieve. That they do have to get on with it a bit. But like, Gimli is genuinely upset about what happened.
I think it's only natural to be upset. It would have been weird if he wasn't.
Yeah, but like there's a lot of stories I feel like where strong characters aren't allowed to show emotion and stuff like this. But I'm glad he was. Anywho, so they battle on and they discover it's not just goblins, it's a fucking Balrog.
Yeah.
And this is ultimately where the iconic... I'm pretty sure I knew this before I even I even knew what Lord of the Rings was. The absolutely iconic "You shall not pass."
Yeah, I think it's the "I am your father" line of Lord of the Rings.
Yes, I completely agree. It's such a fantastic thing, and it's like the fact that like Gandalf is just on a small bridge holding down a demon. And the bridge collapses, and just as Gandalf is about to, make his way off, the Balrog fires his whip one last time, pulls down Gandalf, who says the pretty iconic final words as well, "Fly, you fools."
Yeah.
As he falls to his death. Except for the fact that I kinda know he doesn't really die.
He dies.
He died. Rest in peace, Gandalf. He's with his
No,
good
he
friend.
actually dies.
He's with his good friend, the butterfly.
No, he actually dies.
But what about the Gandalf in the later movie?
Well, you will have to look at that.
Ah. Zombie Gandalf.
Mm-hmm.
So Gandalf is dead, and, like, they leave the mines, but are just fucking not okay. Like, the Hobbits are pretty depressed, especially Frodo. But they have to carry on. Like, they don't wanna, but they have to carry on. And this is really where Frodo begins to notice that the Fellowship is cracking already.
Yeah.
Like, I knew the Fellowship broke, but I didn't realise, like, oh, well, it was just a dysfunctional family to begin with.
Yeah.
They are cracking, they are... Because I was under the belief that the Fellowship broke in the Two Towers, not this, but no. Boromir is getting more and more after the ring. Gimli and Legolas are just fucking at each other's throats.
Yeah, and it's the time when Boromir tries to get the ring.
Yeah.
That they are attacked by the Uruk-hai.
Yes. Is that a little bit later? I'm pretty sure there's like the Elven bit, right? There's the next Elven city.
Oh, wait. Yeah, there's the Elven city in between that.
So they reach the Wood Elves. Yeah, it's Wood Elves, right?
I don't know. I know that it's Wood Elves in German.
Yeah, and they meet there. And the whole stuff, they reveal that Gandalf is dead. And there's a lot of... there's a whole thing where, like, the maiden of this is so beautiful. And Gimli's like, I'm not going to fall for her. And he spends the next hour simping for her. Apparently there's a really sweet lore thing here. Because she gives them all a gift. And he asks her for 3 of her hair. Well, for 1 of her hair. And she gives her 3. And Legolas smiles, and apparently this is a really sweet lore thing, because in Lord of the Rings lore, like, apparently she would not do this to one of the people who was considered to be the greatest elf who ever lived, because of how, like, secretly corrupt he was.
Yeah.
But she gave 3 to Gimli because, like, he has a good heart.
Yeah.
And I like that. And that's that little thing that, like, Legolas, like, actually kind of respect Gimli.
Respect with double C.
Oh, I completely forgot to mention. We skipped over this. Frodo got Bilbo's magic sword, which glows when orcs are nearby.
Yeah.
That's such a cool weapon. He also got his mithril cloak. Again, both really cool things.
Pretty cool.
The remaining Fellowship goes off. And this is when it cracks, because Boromir tries to get the ring from Frodo, which forces him to have to use the ring, which alerts all the bad guys to their location. And in the ensuing scuffle, Frodo decides to go alone. He has a conversation with Aragorn about it, but he goes alone. Merry and Pippin are captured. and Boromir is killed. And I have to say,
But
I kind of like
he's
Boromir.
killed while protecting them.
Yeah, he dies. He dies a hero's death.
He dies a hero, even though he was on the brink of being a bad guy.
I think Boromir kind of represents the fact that, like, almost this idea that, like, I think Tolkien's trying to get across that, like, you shouldn't mistake their want for the ring as them being evil.
Yeah.
Like, even the best of men could be corrupted by it.
Yeah.
And there's this really great thing where Boromir is, like, talking to Aragorn as he dies, and they have this really sweet exchange. And Sean Bean dies. What a rare occasion. And this is where the Fellowship is absolutely broke, because they've lost 2 members, 2 more have been captured, and Frodo has got off. Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas are like... Aragorn fills them 2 in on the fact that, like, look, it's over, the Fellowship is over. But then they just point out, like, hang on, but there's still 2 kidnapped friends, so we're not going to let them die. Come on, mates. And I love that. I love the fact it's like, look, our one mission's over, but do you want to go on another mission?
Yeah, it's
like
better
that.
to do nothing.
And it kind of shows the type of people they are, that they're not just here because they were told to, now they're doing this for their own reasons. And we get the very sweet ending where Frodo is attempting to row away alone. And God bless him, Sam is just trying to get to him.
Even though he can't swim.
Even though he can't swim. Ultimately, Frodo turns around and rescues him. And even though Frodo wanted to go alone, Samwise is just not letting him.
Yeah.
And it kind of leaves the dynamic in a very interesting place where we almost now have 2 fellowships. We have our little trio who are going on to rescue the remaining members, and we have Frodo and Samwise going into the fire. And that was the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Good lord, it's huge. And this
is.
is part 1.
Okay. So now, how'd you like it?
I loved it. I think it's fantastic.
I'm glad.
I think it has, I mentioned this earlier, but it has the same feel to, I feel like, A New Hope of Star Wars, where it thrusts you into its world. It doesn't hold your hand. It's just like, here's the lore, here's the stuff, have fun. And a lot of movies do this, yeah. But a lot of movies don't do it well, and it's hard to do it well because I don't think there's any rule book to it. You just, I feel like you've got to put yourself in the audience's shoes.
I just hate when everything has to be explained in a movie.
Yeah.
If it's possible, just show me what the world is like, what is possible and what's not possible.
Yeah, like what I liked about the introduction to this movie is we get 2 bits of exposition. We get introduced to what hobbits are like.
Yeah.
And we get the exposition about the rings. And out of them, the rings is the only bit that's absolutely necessary. And they didn't explain everything. They could have explained the fact that, yeah, the One Ring is actually the MacGuffin super ring, and it's so evil and powerful. But just by explaining that, Sauron created one all-powerful ring for himself, instantly tells the audience that, like, oh yeah, no, this means business. And there's an art to it, I think. I'm with you. I don't like big exposition, but at the same time, because I feel like big exposition treats the audience like an idiot.
Yeah.
Which the general audience is not as idiotic as I think a lot of directors think they are.
Wasn't there one movie, I don't remember which one, that had a American and a European cut? Because they thought that the American audience isn't as
fucking hilarious.
intelligent, and just why don't you trust your audience?
That's hilarious. That reminds me of there's a Christmas
I don't know
movie
which movie it was, but it was yeah.
There's a Christmas movie that has two cuts. One that was released in generally left-leaning states and one in generally right-leaning states. And it's the exact same movie, except in one cut, the main girl has two dads, and the other cut has a dad and a mom. And I'm just like, that would sound like a... Why? Why bother?
Yeah.
But that's right. I'm still cracking up at the fact that I made. I've got to look at what that movie is now. But yeah, because like this movie could have very easily explained everything, and I'm glad it doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's some of your just because you recommended this movie? What's some of your favourite stuff in this movie?
It's hard to explain because I think what I like about these movies is the feeling they convey.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a fairy tale.
Yeah, it does.
It's like a fairy tale for. It sounds bad to say it's fairy tale for adults because I watched it as a kid too, but it's
no, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly because
it has fairy tale vibes, but it doesn't shy away to show bad things happening.
You know what? I think I have a really great way to like support your point here. The Hobbit is a fairy tale for children. Lord of the Rings is a fairy tale for people who loved The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Because The Hobbit is suitable for anyone, but Lord of the Rings has horror. It has it has everything, really.
It does.
You want tense, scary scenes, the stuff the Nazgul, the Mines of Moria. You want a lovely fantasy world, Rivendell. You know, Hobbiton. You want this like grand on scale. The movie. Mm-hmm. Oh, New Zealand. Oh, New Zealand. And it's just. Yeah, no. I think what's like kind of almost like appealing about this movie as well is like, and we mentioned that like it came in this really good boom of like really good nerd stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like it does something. And you mentioned because you watched it as a kid. Anyone could watch this movie and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what things like Spider-Man and like, you know, like Harry Potter did well, where it like it appealed to anyone.
Exactly.
As long as you like fantasy, you will like this movie. And the fact of the matter is, you probably like fantasy.
What? What did you say?
Oh, I said like you probably like fantasy.
I do.
And like
fantasy.
If you like this movie, you know, if you like, I've slipped.
If you like good stories, you will like Lord of the Rings. You don't even have to like fantasy that much.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's the thing is like, it's not too violent. It's exciting. It's got horror elements, but I wouldn't consider it outright scary.
At its core, it's a trilogy about friendship in my eyes.
Yeah, and camaraderie.
Yeah.
And, well, you know, I think there is stuff that can be said about Tolkien's visions of fantasy races in accord with some of his political views. Like, this is a thing that's present with a lot of writers.
Well, I don't know a lot about his political views.
It's more. I think it's less like. I think it's more just like a lot of things of like. I wouldn't say it's like. It's not Lovecraft level. If you get me. Or Dr. Seuss, but it's more like the fact that like. Because the Rings of Power series is debuting soon. And like, there's been a whole discussion of people like. Was there black elves? And stuff, and but I don't think this series has any issues of that hasn't aged well, you know.
Wait a minute.
That's the point I was trying to make. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't trying to imply Tolkien is racist. But it was more
I
like
don't know.
I don't know, but it's more of a fact of like, you know, I don't think this has any horrifically aged things.
No.
There was another fantasy movie in 2001 that had some severely aged things.
I don't know how it was in the Middle Ages, if there were that many people of color.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be like
Europe.
Yeah, I think
because it is set in the past, in a fictional past.
Yeah, I suppose that is kind of probably like the main predominant argument. I mean, there would have been, but it's better. It's better than Kingsley, Shacklebolt, and Cho Chang. Also, Tolkien had some pretty great exchanges with people trying to be like with like Nazis and stuff. But anywho, this movie has it's fantastically.
Yeah.
So no matter who you are, you're not gonna like cringe at certain points. Like, oh god, why did they do that?
Nope.
Do you have a favourite scene?
I just like when the hobbits interact with each other. Like, it's magical when the beginning of the movie is pretty nice.
I do like the beginning.
When Frodo wakes up from his wound in Rivendell.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
it's hard. If you love a movie that much, it's hard to make out a favorite scene because you just like the whole movie, you know?
I get you. I think my favorite scene's probably it's probably the assembling of the Fellowship.
Oh, okay.
Because you're introduced to all these different like characters, and you kind of get this real grand scale of just how you kind of, without even that much exposition, you get an introduction to the four races and their differing views.
Yeah.
I also like the first 20 minutes is just great.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic writing.
Good movie.
It's a good movie.
So, should we rate it?
Yeah, we should rate it. How will you rate it?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Fair enough. I'm gonna say maybe like a 9. But that'll probably change when I've seen all 3. I think maybe the only reason for a 9 for me is I really should not have watched the extended edition as my first viewing.
Because it's hard for you to concentrate for that long. Or...
ADHD. Okay. Why I watch
the
extended
I
editions.
understand. The last movie I watched in cinema was The Batman, which is 3 hours. But I'm kind of glad that I can concentrate for that long. But I understand if you have ADHD, that it's hard to do it.
You know, I get you. It's hard. Like, I could do it in cinema on occasions, but it really depends on the day, like the film and the day, and
Well, I couldn't watch a 3-hour-long movie if I didn't enjoy it.
Oh God, yeah,
Then I would have problems too. But
that's
Lord of the
that's
Rings.
part of the reason. My issue right now with for historical reasons, I kind of want to just watch only for historical reason. The Birth of a Nation.
okay.
It's 3 hours of KKK propaganda. Why I don't want to sit through that.
Yeah, maybe watch it in little slices, little racist
With
slices.
like a historian's commentary.
Yeah, of course. I think even without historian commentary, you would you would be able to make out the propaganda. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not. It's more like I'd want to see it in like an educational perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will be continuing the Lord of the Rings trilogy soon. We're doing the Two Towers soon. So there's not really time for a next time thing, you know.
Next time at Atom Path.
It's the next one.
Yeah.
That was exciting.
Okay, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
You have to do your famous lines because I won't do them.
It's like, yeah, but you'll be upset if I don't do them.
Yeah. Do it.
Well, if you're experiencing this for your magical hell orb and you happen to be Christopher Lee.
Hello, Christopher.
Yeah, hi. We love your work.
Big fan.
Please descend from heaven.
Please.
Please. Bye.
That's it.
That's it. Bye.
Bye.
That was fun.